guys? Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. Today is August 14th. The Pirates are a team without direction right now, and the players are right in the middle of it. Let's talk.
This is fine.
These games, specifically when they get beat this bad, 12-5 final yesterday, 14-0 the day before that, 7-1 the day before that. We ran into a team in the Brewers that are absolutely red hot, and the Pirates are not playing well. And combine those two things together, and you end up with a series like this. A little reminiscent of the days when, even when we were good, we couldn't win in Milwaukee. This was pretty much as bad as it gets. And I mean, if you look at this, I mean, this is two parts. One part not executing and not getting things done. And the second part, a team that is just on an incredible run. 2 days ago, 7-1, they were 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. That's fantastic. The next game, the second game, they were 6 for 11. And yesterday's game, they were 8 for 14 with runners in scoring position. This is 50% and then better than 50% the next 2 days. That is ridiculous. I mean, guys, we talk about the Pirates not being good with runners in scoring position, and we see a lot of 0 for 10, 0 for 12 crazy games from the Pirates on the opposite side of things, right? This is the kind of numbers that are not to be expected when the Pirates get better at runners in scoring position. By all means, league average for good teams, not just league average across the league. I don't know what the number is right now, but it's in the 240s, maybe low 240s for league average right now with runners in scoring position. But for the better teams, they're in the low 250s to upper 250s. I think 257 for the lead the last time I looked, right? That's within a couple of days. That's less than 300 with runners in scoring position. It's hard to do. And this team is doing far greater than that just in this one series. And a lot of that has to do with them being good, but also the struggle that is happening with the Pirates bullpen right now, a lot of it. But even the starters right now are getting beat by this. And you just had Skeens and Kellers, both of them only make it through 4 innings against the Brewers. Mitch Keller's the latest victim of the Brewers, what seemed like in that 4th inning, just pitch after pitch. August continues to be the toughest month of baseball to watch. And outside of the Brewers series, it's going to continue. Keller gives up a couple runs in the 3rd, and instead of bouncing back the next inning, he gives up 4 more in the 4th. On 85 pitches, he gives up 8 hits and 6 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. ERA now at 4.13, just like that. 4.13 ERA. Sawinski makes his first error this season, and of course, Pirates fans are going to act like he's the worst fielder in baseball. This is the kind of August that it's going to be for Pirates fans. The frustration of everything piling up makes you direct every little thing at something that doesn't exist. Jack's been very good out there this year. Does it matter? No, he doesn't hit. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I'm not, like I said, not doing this. I'm just pointing out the frustration of the fan base right now. The frustration of what is going on. That's the only intent I have here. Trust me. This is not a defense, and you'll see that later. Be fair with your criticism. You don't have to lie to yourself and others about these players just because you hate yourself that much. It's freaking baseball, guys. We need to calm down a little bit. We analyze. we watch, we criticize. There's not a whole lot of things to say positive right now. That's what August baseball is for a team like this. They're uninspired and they don't have a direction. They don't know what they're playing for. Let's just talk offense and let's get through this and then we'll turn the page. We got a day off today, right? So this is how much we can handle. So let's get through it here. Let's talk offense. That's the main issue here. I know that the bullpen's struggling. We had some pitching, but pitching, I think, bounces back a little bit. This bullpen needs to figure something out. You only traded 2 guys away from it. There's no way that it goes that far, right? These guys have shown enough. Pham, IKF, Triolo, Bart, Suwinski, Canario. I'm going to say those guys, but more on that later. But specifically Pham, IKF, Triolo for me. And like I said, I'll get to the other guys. Pham and IKF are gone after this year. It just doesn't matter whether they're good or not. It doesn't matter if they're playing well. It doesn't matter if they're playing poorly. It doesn't matter if they can handle a position or not handle a position. None of that matters. They are gone. Triolo has never been good. At the absolute best, he's the last man on the bench who's defense only. And he even failed to catch a bad throw from Bart yesterday. The throw wasn't good, but it was catchable, and Tree just let it go to the outfield, being completely out of position to field that. It was on a stolen base attempt, a successful attempt, obviously, without even reasonable effort. Liover Peguero is sitting on the bench, allowing Triolo to play shortstop, is being placed on the bench, allowing Triolo to play shortstop. Let's not make it sound like it's Peguero doing it. The worst thing you could do at this point is to have Triolo trick you into thinking he's anything more than what he is. This team can't afford to be waiting around to find out. He's done this a couple times at the end of the year, made you think, hey, maybe this guy can do it. Don't. At least wait around for someone who looks like they can do it. Right? Just someone who looks the part, which Triolo doesn't. So don't let him fool you here. Let's get somebody who does, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let's continue. We're going to talk about those guys, the 3 guys that I mentioned earlier as we go down through this list. Jack Suwinski was at least good at some point. What he did in those first 2 seasons was enough to believe in a player who could either get better or at least be a supporting player with power, hitting 6th or 7th in a lineup, right? We're not trying to pretend like this guy could have been a 3 or 4 hitter on a good team. But after that 2023 season, his second season, you could legitimately see this guy strike out too much, but hit 30 home runs and be somewhat productive on a team if he's just a supporting player. He's been good on defense, and even this year he has been. But he had a bad week in Milwaukee, and I'm less upset about the Cruz play, but that's part of it. Neither player called it. Both were just trying to make a play for the team. Cruz needs to take over in that scenario. I imagine Jack was even surprised that Cruz made it to that ball. Anyway, without wasting any time or energy on that play, I'm just not sure it's ever going to happen here with Jack. Take Andrew Vaughn, for example. We just watched him. He's in what has been the talk of the town or the league or whatever. Andrew Vaughn was never going to work out in Chicago. It had all fallen apart. Jack might have a run in him somewhere, the way that Andrew Vaughn is right now, but it's not going to be in Pittsburgh. Listen, I like Jack, but it's probably time to move on. He has no options next year. It has not worked this year. He was fine in AAA. It's not worked at this level this year. Even if he finds a streak during this time, much like Triolo, it's probably worse off if we try to keep him around because of it. Because I just don't think it's going to work. Let the guy go, get a change of scenery, and see if he can make something of himself. But even if he does, we can't look back in hindsight and say, oh, he could have done that for us. He probably won't. The guy needs a change of scenery. It's not working here. It's not going to work here. Too much has already happened with that taste in your mouth. You need fresh. He needs a fresh look. And it may never work for him, but there is that moment where we look back and say, I saw a major leaguer. I saw a major league player those first 2 seasons he was in the show. That player is not the guy that we see taking the field right now. It's the same human, right? So we see parts of it, but that is not the same guy. Canario hasn't got much playing time recently at all. So if you keep him on the roster and it stays the same, like, what do you care, right? Him or Sawinski, we're going to get into that. But we're wasting playing time here too. He's not an answer. We already know this. There's no point. We'll get into the actual roster construction of it, but he's another guy that should not return. And last, Joey Bart, who I just don't know where he fits in, although I have suspicions, right? He's not someone I'm taking off the roster for sure. I'm not sending him away and finding a spot for Brett Sullivan to come up or something else in the organization. That's not what I'm doing. It's not, that's the same thing or worse, right? I'm bringing him up because we're just talking about the whole scenario and the fact that guys need moved in order to get other guys. I have no problem with Bart being there, but Henry Davis needs to be playing. Bart might even return next year as a backup. He might even have a better year next year. That's not the point. I don't want to jump the gun on that. If you can improve the position on the cheap, you do it in the offseason and Bart's gone. That's fine. But Henry Davis has the ability to be a good hitter in this league. And I know that a lot of us are saying, no, he doesn't, because you've only watched him do what he's done. He dominates the level before this. There's a huge gap between the two. But going down there, there's nothing to work on. Sometimes there is things you can work on in AAA. Nothing for Henry Davis left. He has to figure out major league pitching or he won't. It's one or the other. And he has to be given every opportunity. He needs reps. This team needs him to have reps. He should get every opportunity to try and make it work, which just means that Bart needs to be the official backup catcher at this point, and they need to invest their time into Henry Davis. We already know the pick was good because of Bubba and the implications and everything that happened along with it, and the fact that Henry was good at every level until here. So not a bust. I know some of you have a different definition of bust. We can agree to disagree there. He's in the majors. If he never works out here, then the player isn't good. But the pick, we've already settled on that. The pick was still a good pick because of the other things. But you owe that now to the organization and the standing of where they are with catchers to give him every opportunity to try to figure something out. So that's 3 outfielders, that's 2 infielders. The only reason you would make this case, who gets the chances, right? So catcher is already taken care of because it was part of the Bart conversation. So we don't have to address that. Let's start in the infield. Liover Peguero is my starting shortstop right now. I want to see if that pop is actually there. He has no options next year, just like Jack. But with Peguero, we need to see. We've seen with Jack, right? He's gotten time. He'll continue to get time. We'll get to that later. He'll continue to get time. But right now, Peguero is not. He has no options. We need to see if there's anything there in Peguero. He's playing for a bench role, I would hope, in 2026. If he can offer you pop off the bench for shortstop, third base, second base, that's helpful for a team. You need more than one of those guys. And the next 2 guys are also competing for that same role. Nick York. Nick York, to me, is just a ball player. And I know there's a lot of guys saying, well, he hasn't pushed his way. He hasn't earned his way here. He hasn't done a whole lot in AAA. But some guys, the approach that they take goes to the next level when they get to the next level. That has been true in the past. It will be true in the future. I don't know if that's true with Nick York, but we're never going to know without giving him an opportunity. There's mixed feelings here, right? We're not watching him play every day. We're not watching him play any day. He's in AAA, hidden from us. So get him in front of us. He's playing for a bench role next season as well. If he has something to offer, then we need to see what that is. And for Nick York being just 23 years old, he also has a couple of options, I believe, at least one more option year next year. And this guy could be considered not just a bench player, but also a depth player. So this is a guy that you will have around next year, regardless of whether he comes up or not. But get him a cup of coffee. See what he has. Because if he's better than Peguero, you move on from Peguero. Or do something else, right? You have to see what it is. There's no reason to hold him back from that experience that he can get up here. To see him at second base, see him at third base, a little corner outfield or something, since people want to see that, but also he has the ability to hit one of the corners. And because the fact that he can provide a little of that, I will add a third infielder instead of a third outfielder in this scenario. You traded for Cam Devaney. He's not young. He's 28 years old, almost 29, or has he turned 20? I don't think he's turned 29, although everybody likes to already say he's 29. He's still 28 years old. He is not 29 years old, contrary to a lot of people. Matter of fact, his birthday isn't even until next April. He's 28. By all accounts, 28 years old, not 29. Get him up here yesterday. He would play shortstop and third base for me right now. We've already talked about Peguero. He can also play third base. He can also play second. Peguero's even playing some first base. That could continue or not. There are options there. No reason to acquire him if he's not going to get a look. Do the dude a solid. Give him his MLB debut and see what happens with it. But the guy's a capable defensive shortstop, and he has pop. You're looking for that pop. You're looking for guys who can come off the bench and possibly run into a homer. We haven't had that. We thought we were getting that from Canario, and we can't. It's not happening. All right, so now we move into the outfield, and this is where it's very thin right now, and where it's going to sound like I'm kind of going back on some of this, but I told you we would talk about this later. I had mentioned that Suwinski or Canario can stick around, so you really only need to bring up one guy to see what he has. The person, there's one person that you could bring up, and he was just added to the 7-day IL with a hand injury after being hit by a pitch on the hand, and that's Billy Cook. So you'll need to wait till he comes back. He'll have to get some reps before he comes up. This is unfortunate timing for him. He was just starting to get into his power a little bit, away from, the average was there, and he took the step out, but it wasn't hitting for power. He had just started to kind of come into the power again. It's a guy with double-digit home runs every year of his professional career until now. You'd like to see if some of that will work out, but you'll have to wait till he comes back and do all that. So you have Suwinski, you have Canario. Right now you have Ronnie Simon playing a lot of outfield in Indianapolis, and he's on this team. So you can still get rid of Pham. Use those at bats for any of those guys until it's time to give Billy Cook some time too. These changes aren't going to change the outcomes of these games much, at least not consistently, right? But the one thing it does is put guys on the field who have something to play for. Guys who have to prove that they belong here. Simon, Suwinski, Canario, Cook, York, Devaney, Peguero all have to prove that they can be a major leaguer. And you can throw Henry Davis into that too. Even though I don't think they have much of a choice, he's going to be a major leaguer. For the Pirates, you get inspired play from motivated players with a chip on their shoulder. Maybe you find out some guys who are worth keeping around for depth or bench roles or something like that. But for those players, you get that opportunity to prove it, right? Maybe a little more for the players than maybe helps out with the Pirates. I don't know, but maybe it's twofold. Maybe they both do. I would have Cruz, Reynolds, Suwinski, Canario for my outfielders. Now, that's Simon until Cruz is back, and then Straight platoon, Jack and Canario until Cook is ready. When Cook is ready, Canario's gone. And really, Simon being a switch hitter, but I think they like left-handed better. If he's doing well and Jack's not, then maybe he's the left-handed part of that. Maybe it's Canario that's not. You keep Jack around, but you keep Simon around until Cook is ready. And then you make a decision on whether it's Simon or Sawinski, and you get Cook up here. You do something like that, but that's your group right there for outfield. When Cruz comes back, you make one decision. When Cook is ready, you make the second. My infield would be Horwitz, Gonzalez, Peguero, York, Devaney, and Triolo stays on the roster, right? You got to have a full roster. So Triolo stays on the roster. So the immediate changes are Pham and IKF gone. Devaney and York are up. And then eventually you make those other two moves in the outfield, but they just can't be made right now. Cruz, by the way, on the IL with a concussion. So I didn't mention that earlier, but that's part of this whole thing, right? It doesn't seem like a big change, but it also, considering Triolo is also out of the lineup in this scenario, he becomes the last man on the bench, possibly that platoon first baseman if you want to do that instead of, you could also do Peguero at first, Devaney and York over on the other side, or even York in the outfield and Triolo at first. Like, there are options, right? But it doesn't seem like that big of a change. You're essentially replacing three players. Pham for Canario against lefties, Triolo and IKF, Peguero and Devaney. York is next in line for playing time as Triolo drops all the way down. I feel like this has to happen. For us as fans, at least we have something to watch for rather than the final score. Because the final score right now is not going to work out in our favor very often. We already know that. So if we can have something else to watch for, sometimes I question this. Like, we could be so frustrated at a guy like Jack Sawinski or Henry Davis in particular. I'm going to go with those two because in this scenario, they find themselves still getting playing time, whether we like it or not. Davis is the one that has to be playing. And as a fan, we need him to play. As an organization, we need him to play. We should not be pining for Davis to go away. We should be pining for Davis to play more. Because we're going to find out. Right? Because we're going to find out. That's the important thing. And then if you find out and you can make a move at catcher if he's not doing anything, then you do it. So on and so forth, right? But they could really redo this roster in the offseason if none of these work out. I don't know what, if you're a fan, I don't know what you're rooting for in this scenario. I know there are some rooting for them to do poorly. That's just not, I'm not cut from the same, whatever they say. That's not ever going to be my thing. I'm always going to root for something. And at this point, I need to be seeing something that gives me any kind of hope for 2026. I know that this season's over. Give me something. If that's one of these guys working, or even still, if I get an answer that somebody's not working, then at least I have an answer and I can see you try to do something about it, which you won't do. But listen, we take these things one day at a time. And the off-season stuff is a conversation for another day. This is a day off. The Bucs are back at it tomorrow in Wrigley. 3 games coming up, 3-day games, all at 2:20 coming up. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll talk about the weekend series tomorrow. Enjoy your day off, guys. Thanks for sticking it out and listening to this show every day. We need each other, Pirates fans.
Dang it, Bobby.
And because we are sickos, let's go Bucs.
Thanks for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Subscribing to your platform of choice is the best way to be notified for new episodes. And now, new episodes every weekday. Remember, live shows with my dad and Uncle Jake are Sundays at 9 p.m. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and join them in the live chat every Sunday. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2 Buctober. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucs.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any